The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 7th day of February 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpoo, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sherry, you had an extended weekend.
I did.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Surprisingly, it was a good weekend, and yeah, I cooked yesterday, so that was nice.
Okay. No, I'm not going to do it.
No,
What?
keep it moving.
No, I'm just gonna ask about the fire department cooking, fire department cooking. But anyway, I'm not gonna do that. We've been on this rule, like the compliments, and I'm trying to do better, Sherry. I'm trying to do better.
If you gotta try, then that's a problem too.
No, that's the first step to becoming a better person. Recognizing there's a problem. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. We begin the week with Acting Commissioner of Bermuda Police Service, Darrin Simons, as we discuss the recent violent acts within our community. Not the conversations we want to have, but necessary because of the incidents that are taking place. So make sure that you engage with the Acting Commissioner so that we can get to the bottom of this and discuss ways to prevent these things happening. The Daily Play is a Who Said It. So Sherry.
And I heard Larry on Friday.
Yeah, he threw some shade at you. He threw some shade.
You did too. Don't you get out of it.
I said nothing. I was literally just reading the questions and telling them right or wrong.
This show is recorded. You do know that, right?
Yeah, so you would have caught me saying, don't talk about my friend Sherry like that if it's right. If you saw anything else, it's been edited.
By you.
No, I didn't touch anything.
But anyway.
Yeah, honestly, I was speaking with Acting Commissioner of Police Darrin Simons prior to coming on live this morning. And anyone who knows me when it comes to this show, I try not to look at my phone during the show because it's easy to get distracted and so on. And on Thursday morning during this show, something told me, look, and I looked, and you see something that says, oh, there was a murder in Bermuda. And for us in this space, we don't repeat things. We don't run with things. We wait until official word from the Bermuda Police Service, right? We wait until we get a press release. So at that point, you kind of, okay, you hope it's not true. And then fast forward to Friday, and you get another message. There was just an incident involving a schoolboy. It doesn't look good.
Right.
This is twice, 2 mornings in a row that we're doing this show and something like that happens. And it's not something that we should get used to in our community. It's not something that we should expect in our community. But before we bring the acting commissioner on, we have a conversation to have amongst ourselves. And, I guess the question today is, what will it take for the public to assist police in Bermuda? And I'm not just talking about in solving the crimes, but preventing them also. What do you believe it's going to take for the public to assist police in Bermuda?
Wow. Jamal, can I just be very transparent and frank? I'm sick or
Mhm,
tired of talking about this.
mhm,
Like, it's just, I feel like we are a broken record. Wasn't it November
mhm.
we had this conversation? I believe
Correct.
December we had this conversation, the
Correct.
top of the year, and it's just like, when are people just going to get on board with doing what is right? What is right?
Mhm,
What we know is right, and to assist the police is to speak up,
mhm,
to intervene when you see it fit,
mhm.
and to teach your children not to harm others. It's real simple.
Yeah.
It's there's no magic pill, there's no magic dust. Just do what is right. And it's so irritating and frustrating. I don't get really, all like this, but it's
I like it.
Monday, and I'm sick and tired of being
Yeah.
sick and tired of having this conversation.
But
That's what I think.
you make a great point, Sherry, because even this morning, as I'm thinking about the conversation today, I'm like, you're right. We had this conversation back in October, November. We had this conversation in December, and we're back here having it again. But my question is, how many of us are taking what we're discussing on this show and having these conversations in other circles?
Yeah.
See, I love our audience. I believe we have probably the most esteemed audience in Bermuda. And I say that, respectfully, I do think we have the most esteemed audience. And while we or our direct relatives may not be involved in this, we've had Christmas in between.
Hmm.
We've had New Year's in between. We've had probably birthdays, times when we get together with family. Are we taking these conversations from our community, the Daily Hour community, and having them with our family outside?
No,
Because if
because
we are,
we're forwarding stuff that we don't need to forward.
well, there you go.
Forward this conversation, forward,
Mhm.
and have the conversation. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
no,
it's
no, no.
like,
You got it.
like you want to forward all of this other stuff that's going on in Bermuda that is not, conducive to what we need to do to talk about it. Talk about this.
Yeah,
Like, how can we do better?
yeah. And Sherry, one of the things you speak about forwarding, and I heard something on Friday, and I don't know. Let me be clear. Even if I did know the young man, the victim, right? Even if I did, my opinion wouldn't change. But when you hear people saying, "Well, he was rude and this was coming," stuff like that. Let me tell you what annoys me. Really annoys me. I'm a black Bermudian man. And when people used to say, "Oh, well, let them all kill each other," that's not the solution.
Mm-mm.
That's not helping the community. I once said, let me just share this before jumping.
Mm-hmm.
I said this many years ago, about 15 years ago. And it was Larry Marshall Jr., who was co-hosting on Friday. He checked me on it, man. And I said, this was probably longer. So about 2005, he came to visit me when I was in college. And he was in college in Carolina, came up to Rhode Island. He said, we were talking about a murder that happened in Bermuda at the time. And I said, oh, pretty much. Well, he was a messed up guy anyway, whatever. And he said to me, no, 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 no. That same person could have changed their life and came back and saved yours. It's not us
Yeah.
to be judge, jury, and you know what I'm saying? And from that, it really hit me because I'm like, yo, we have to be sensitive. We have to be caring in our response to what's going on. We have to have empathy.
Empathy. And does anybody know what empathy is? It means putting yourself in another person's shoes to understand how it is that they may feel about something.
Yeah.
Be empathetic. What I have an issue with that, Jamal, is that everybody has a right to opinion, and if situations happen to you, that's fine. Can we not forward private messages? That's a whole nother show. Can we
Mhm.
not do that?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of questions and a lot of things behind those messages, those voice notes that we don't know,
Mhm.
and we're just stirring the pot.
Yeah.
If somebody has an opinion of what it is that happened, that's them.
Yeah.
But can we not do that?
Yeah.
Can we
I
not?
I completely agree because I always if I'm in a group and a voice note comes through, I'm like, I'm not quite sure this person intended for that to get into this group or into other people. And it's easy to tell people, well, stop sending voices. No, 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 no. People send messages to people they trust. Stop doing it. It's one thing you probably rarely see from me is a forward. You rarely, rarely see,
Mhm.
unless it's a news article, you probably rarely see a forward. But back to the question, folks, what will it take for the public to assist the police and in Bermuda. And I'm going to use myself again. I say this often. I'm oblivious. You know, I've grown up. The only things I watch on TV is sports and ID channel. So I grew up on watching America's Most Wanted. There's shows I was interested in. I always said, I don't know why I watch them because I could never identify anyone. I'm just not built that way to remember detail like that. And so,
right.
You know, I've got myself a dash cam because at least, I don't know if you guys saw the story a couple weeks ago in the US. It happened in Florida. Well, a guy, it was some road rage, and this guy actually shot at another car, and because he cut the car off, so the guy was mouthing off to him, and when the guy came up, was crossing him, he threw a water bottle at his car, and he thought it was someone shot at him, and he shot back. He turned the dash cam in, and now he's up for felony charges. I only say that because when I speak about what can we do when I ask about what can we do to assist the police, as mentioned back in November, October, it can be your door ring cam. It can be your dash cam. It can be anything. And I want to preface this. This is not about just helping the police. This is about helping the community. Do you really want to know that you're living in the same space as someone who can commit such heinous acts? Do you really feel comfortable knowing that someone within your reach has no regard for human life? Come on.
And there has to be some relief in the whole package. And when I mean that, Jamal, we want kids to be involved. We want parents to be involved. We want all of this. But parents are working 2 and 3 jobs just to make the basic needs for their kids. And there needs to be some relief on that end so that parents can be involved without feeling guilty that they can't provide their basic needs for children, and needs being clothing, shelter, food, so forth. And even the clubs, you know, we understand that the clubs are now getting assistance in some type of, like, what are we doing to filter that relief?
Let's go to some comments. Forgot about your, no, I didn't. Sean Smith says, does the Black community still have a distrust against the judicial system and the police to do their job to deliver justice for us? That's a good question, Sean. That's a good question. And audience, you can answer that. You can answer that. And I'll be honest, while I understand that they have a job to do and I respect it, there is a distrust. There is a distrust that sometimes we're going to get justice. We have our reasons for having that distrust. Sean Smith again, Sherry.
Can the police and the judicial system provide workshops on how to identify and to give you information that aid and bring in convictions? That's good.
And that's something that we can ask the acting commissioner. What are some of the things that can help us identify? Like a person like me, again, oblivious, but you may be able to tell me, just look for this. You don't have to remember every detail, right? Sam Cat Place says, it's funny as many are minding the business that pays them, and yet some of these same people, those same people are the ones who have all the mouth and don't speak up to help. Doing the right thing is a thing of the past. Interesting.
Killers like to just type.
Interesting. Traveling Trotty says, doesn't the government not offer financial aid to families in need? I think that was in response to what you were speaking about.
Yeah, they do. You have to meet certain requirements, and then there's that, you know, it's that middle part where you're $100 over the minimum requirement, and then you don't meet the requirements to do it. So yeah, the government does have this assistance, but some families are right in the middle and don't qualify for some of it.
But can I say this? And I'm not making excuses for anything, because you all have heard me speak about this while my mom was alive. And, you know, my mother, I'm just going to use her as an example. And I can even use the late Laverne Furbert, because she could not stand when people said single parents or parents working two jobs. Like, she just didn't use that excuse as to why children were going without. But one thing I always say is, every situation is different. We cannot judge every situation by the same. But I use my mom because she always had I don't remember a time she didn't work 2 jobs. Not necessarily because she always had to work multiple jobs, but just because she wanted to at times, right? But growing up, I remember, was it Trinity Chicken or Crockles? And she worked, like, you know, she always had evening jobs. Sometimes I would be with my aunt. Sometimes I'd be with my grandparents. Sometimes I'd be with my uncles. I'd be football. Like, there was I think what was happening then is I was never left to raise myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think there were people that were a part of that village and community, and I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. I don't know this. I coached in Bermuda from 2007 to 10. I mentored in Bermuda from 2007 to 2009, and I saw things that I didn't experience during my childhood. Right?
Right.
I saw a lot of things at that time, and I was just like, this is different. But for me, I'm like, well, times change, people evolve. I'm not quite sure we've evolved into a community that's beneficial for any of us, though, based on what I witnessed.
Mm-hmm. And it just all depends on the child. You had a need that was being met also by other people.
Mhm.
Some kids just really want their parents, and nobody else. So it just all depends on, as you say, every situation is different.
Yes, and it's key because I want people. What I don't want is us to sit back and pass judgment while we're trying to discuss solutions, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the point of me saying that. I think everybody. I said this last week a couple times, Sherry. Like, you can have two children brought up in the same
Same,
household
huh?
and be completely different, right? Different
Absolutely.
personality. Um, you know what I will say to people in reference to the question, what will it take for the public to assist the police in Bermuda? And yes, we have in twice, but what I think it really comes down to, um, us being willing to and fearless in doing what's best for our community. I think that we have to understand that what we're doing is going to benefit us in the short and long term. There's absolutely no reason that anyone should feel unsafe in the community, including ourselves. And we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do to ensure our safety for ourselves and our loved ones?
StreamYard, this is
That's
Monday.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Um, but no, we have to find ways that benefit the community at large, that's going to keep
Yeah.
us safe. And I don't think right now, you know, that I was discussing something with someone on the weekend, and they're saying, well, it's not random attacks, right? It doesn't
Mm.
seem random. That's neither here or there.
And to me, if
Because
it's focused, that's even worse.
right, like I think the idea that because it's not random, um, takes me back to when the shootings were happening almost weekly, 2009 through 11,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. I'm
11.
like, if you don't, and I hate to use this example, it's like an STD. If you don't control the spread, if you don't, what happens? It becomes that, right? And
Right.
so while it may be targeted for a bit, while it may be controlled, maybe it seemed and aimed, when people start to believe that they can get away with stuff, and they
Mm-hmm.
realize they don't have anything to feed themselves and anything out there, they go and realize, hey, oh, here's this random person. It can become random. So that's why
Yeah.
it's important for us as a community to address this, to
Mm-hmm.
find a way to fix this. And I want to say this before we bring Leanne in and turn over, bring in the acting commissioner. This is not a problem for the politician, the police. This is a problem facing our entire community.
Yes.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And unless we all get ser like, there was a speech made by former colonel of the Bermuda Regiment and commissioner of the prisons, Eddie Lamb. And what I heard was nothing that hasn't been said on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And to Shara's earlier point is, we talk about it, but what changes?
Right.
What changes? Folks, the little smallest, slightest change can make a difference. The slightest change can make a difference. But we can't
Absolutely.
always look outward for the solution. We
Start at
can't
home.
start at home. And you may think your household's perfect. You may think everything's good. Or maybe it's something that's going on in your house that you could change, that can actually change the fortunes of your community.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I say this before we bring Liana in. My dislike or disgust for the government has nothing to do with my love for my country and my people. And I really, really, really do want what's best for Bermuda and Bermudians. And what's best for Bermuda and Bermudians isn't what's happening on a Thursday morning, finding out the life of one of our most loyal viewers of this show,
Yeah.
her beloved husband, someone who's watched this show from day one, who just buried her mother-in-law
Mhm.
to lose her husband. So yes, this is hitting home. How do you console that, folks? And then on the Friday, you think, okay, the community is going to take time to digest this and get to the bottom of it. And then your audacity, your audacity, the audacity of these two individuals to go and do that. Let's bring Leanna in for the conversation.
Mm.
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I am good this morning. Just another tough conversation that just, it hurts my heart that, like Sherry said in the beginning, just another month of still continuing these same conversations over and over. It's tiring. It really
Yeah.
is.
It is. And as tired as we get of talking about them, I said that to someone on the advisory board, and they said, but you've got to do it. But my hope, and I'm going to challenge the audience once more, as we've done earlier, take these conversations to your water cooler, take them to your workplace, take them to your family events. Do not keep these conversations tucked in, because what we don't want to do is wait till it hits home for you to speak up, do something, or say something. Lee, you ready for the news break?
Let's do it.
Over to you.
Thanks, Jamal and Sherry, and happy Monday to everyone that's tuned in with us today. We hope you all are having a great start to this cloudy morning. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. In today's top stories, as we've heard, police are on the hunt for two suspects wanted in connection with a brutal attack on a 14-year-old boy last Friday. The teenager was stabbed while waiting at a bus stop on Parsons Road at its junction with Happy Dale Road in Pembroke at about 8:20 a.m. Now, the boy's injuries were said by police to be serious but not life-threatening, and that he was recovering in hospital. Now, authorities released this image of the suspects, who were said to be wearing light-colored clothing, and the cycle was a white motorcycle. The suspects were both wearing dark-colored helmets. The suspects made good their escape along Happy Dale Road. Now, Cedar Bridge Academy was under lockdown for the day because of the incident, and pupils were asked to remain in their classrooms for their own safety. National Security Minister Renee Ming, who visited the scene on Friday, said that she was shocked and outraged at what was the second violent attack on a person to take place last week. Now, she said the persons responsible for this attack must be brought to justice. Anyone with footage or of anyone matching the description of the suspects can upload it to the police portal. Police or people with information on the incident should call 211 or the Independent and Confidential Crime Stoppers hotline on 800-8477. In other news, divorce without the need for a courtroom blame game could be on the cards after the Attorney General tabled proposed legislation in the House of Assembly on Friday. Now, MPs heard the amendments would remove structural hurdles to a divorce and simplify the language for the procedure. Darrin Simons said that the no-fault divorce proposal was the first part of a draft of reforms that would allow either party in a marriage to apply for a divorce without the unhelpful blaming and shaming required at present. Now, Ms. Simons added that the process as it stood was not at all straightforward and could be quite intimidating, but she said in a statement of irrevocable breakdown would be accepted by the courts without having to delve into the privacy of a couple if the proposed legislation was backed by Parliament. Meanwhile, a significant shortage in the contributory pension fund could force the raising of the retirement age to 70 and increased payments into the scheme, the finance minister said on Friday. Curtis Dickinson told MPs that an actuarial review of the CPF's performance between 2017 and 2020 had recommended major changes to stop it becoming exhausted in 2044, just 3 years earlier than predicted. Now, Mr. Dickinson added that the review called for contribution rates to increase at higher than 4% a year, more than benefit increases, to get the fund back on track over the next few decades. Now, the review also backed an increase in the retirement age to 70 over a period of at least 8 years. And Royal Bermuda Regiment soldiers are to join forces with troops from Gibraltar to help mount a guard at locations including Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, and the Tower of London, which is believed to be the first time Bermudian soldiers have performed the role. Now, a total of 6 soldiers from the RBR will fly to London to meet up with the Royal Gibraltar Regiment to prepare for 4 weeks of public duties. The troops will later fly to Gibraltar for an extra training before they and the soldiers from Gibraltar return to the UK to start their duties, which attract crowds of thousands of tourists to royal residences and the Tower to watch the ceremonial parades. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 67 and a low near 63 degrees. Today, we'll see another gloomy morning ahead as a stationary front to our near south maintains cloudy skies with lingering light rain and drizzle and an easterly breeze this morning. Now, although high pressure nudges in from the north today and Tuesday, Bermuda will remain unsettled as the frontal boundary roams across the area. Warmer temperatures evolve through the week as a warm front passes overnight with a few showers. That's all for our Daily Hour news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sherry in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
Thank you so much for that, Lee. I know you've got a day of the year for us, Sherry. What you got for us?
I do. So today you don't hear about these terms much as you did in years past, but HIV/AIDS is still wreaking havoc in the African American community. So there's a National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, which is today, and it offers the latest updates on the fight against the infection and the disease. It occurs every February 7th with inspirational stories of survivors, suggestions on how to take healthier and more positive lifestyle choices, and details on the latest innovations in education and treatment. And also, it's Grenada's Independence Day today.
Oh, okay. Happy Independence Day, Grenada.
Yeah.
That's why all these people from Grenada are showing up on my Twitter feed as of late talking about we got the spice and this and that. But Happy Independence Day
Spice, I love it.
I think it's the Spice Island, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Independence in 1974.
Okay, cool.
Great year.
Older than Sherry or same age?
Same age.
I'm just saying.
I thought he was throwing shade just now.
He was, but
I
you know,
was.
you
I
see
was.
how I turned it, and you know,
I was. She
one
killed
day I'm gonna be empathetic to him.
One day. One day.
Lee, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We've got Acting Commissioner Darrin Simons on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Are you a small business or organization looking for new ways to reach a greater audience? Well, here's your chance to get your ad on BTG Radio, Good Day Bermuda, and Bermuda's daily talk show, The Daily Hour. Send an email to contact@bermudacommunications.com.
We're featuring a true frequent flyer this month, Bragg Live Food Products. Paul Bragg was the man behind the products, and during his lifetime originated health food stores and promoted nutrition education throughout the media, helping us make healthful choices when we shop for and prepare food. Best known for his live cider vinegar, Bragg also brings us a variety of super nutritious and flavorful foods and condiments. Try the star product that helped launch the entire enterprise, Bragg Raw Unfiltered Apple Cider Vinegar. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah.
Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandy Town Field. Number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All right, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We have the Acting Commissioner of Police, Darrin Simons. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you? And thanks very much for having me.
No problem. No problem. We are not happy that we have you in these circumstances, but nevertheless, thank you for coming on and engaging our audience. So that said, let's get right to it. We've chatted real quickly before you came on, and as I said just now, there were 2 serious incidents last week, one of which a life was lost, another where a schoolboy was viciously attacked. Can you provide us any updates on both incidents that the public should be made aware of?
Okay, so I think in terms of just providing an updates, we've certainly I think we've communicated previously that we've made an arrest in the murder of Mr. Bell, and that individual should be appearing before the courts very shortly. In terms of the young boy that was stabbed, I think progress is being made on that particular case, and I'm anticipating that arrest should be made in due course. But I think it would go without saying that in both of those very tragic incidences, we still need the assistance of the public. We still need people to come forward, to come and share any little bit of information that they might have relative to those incidents. So in the early morning hours of Friday gone, if you're in that area, what did you see? If you heard anything post-incident, what did you hear? And going back to the incident that occurred on Wednesday of last week with the murder of Mr. Bell, is a similar kind of thing. What did you see? What did you hear? Vehicles, cars, people running away on foot, things like that. Very much so.
All right. And, obviously you just made a plea to the public if they know anything. Why should the public remain confident that the Bermuda Police Service can be trusted to get the perpetrators off the streets? I think that's one of the things we hear from our audience pretty often.
Right. So I think certainly there is a sense of maybe almost a natural distrust of authority. Generally, Bermuda is not unique to, in that particular situation, but certainly the Bermuda Police Service is worthy of your trust. We keep information confidential. We have a number of ways for you to get in touch with us. 211, if you're speaking to somebody locally, that's going to have perhaps a bit more context about what happened and can direct you to specific investigators, and also the confidential Crime Stoppers line at 800-8477. But certainly both those avenues are ways that people can get information to the police. And I think you mentioned earlier in your show this sort of natural distrust, I think, of the police. I think the Bermuda Police Service has an absolutely great track record in terms of maintaining the trust of the community. And I'd really encourage people to step out and share what they know. We're a small community, so I mean, who doesn't know a police officer that they can call by name, that they can, they know their telephone number, that they can reach out and share some information. If you prefer that sort of direct touch, but if you want to remain a little bit more in the background, again, you've got other avenues like 211 or Crime Stoppers.
Indeed. And that's something I always cherish. Like a football team, you likely have a police officer that's involved somewhere in a club or cricket and things of that nature. If you have any questions or comments for the Acting Commissioner, Darrin Simons, feel free. We'll do our best to share as many as possible. People are concerned. And, I was watching a visual the other night for Mr. Bell. It seems like to the public, things are not getting any better. As you heard Sherry say, we had this conversation October, November, December again. What would you say to those who feel uneasy right now regarding crime in Bermuda?
So, I mean, I definitely appreciate that unease within the community. I think we have some ground to make up in terms of things like unaddressed trauma, adverse childhood experiences, access to economic opportunities. And as long as these things continue to occur, or these patterns continue to occur in the community, we're likely to continue to experience this type of violence that spills out. I mean, it's well documented, well known that violence is a social ill, and whilst the police have a very clear role that they need to play in terms of prevention, suppression, catching, and convicting, it's the broader society that has a very influential role to play in addressing some of the social ills that are at the root of why there is such violence in the community.
Mm.
As you indicated, yes, there's a social ill. You heard me at the top of the show be very annoyed of having this conversation, as we said. But what are the police doing to mitigate this uptick in violence that we are currently seeing?
Right. So again, the police have a very clear role to play in terms of suppression, prevention, catching, and convicting. So, routinely you're going to see us out on patrol. We're going to go in some of the more affected neighborhoods in particular, where we know some of these individuals tend to congregate. And do increased patrols, targeting enforcement efforts. We'll execute warrants where we have that we've got the information that will support that action. When you see us, for example, with the traffic enforcement, a lot of people just think about that in the context of what it does for harm on our roads. But the reality is, when we're in places where gang members hang out, that's another avenue that we use to address that behavior. We use our powers of stop and search in where these individuals hang out, and just very much targeted enforcement efforts.
Sherry, just real quickly on the back of what you said, and I'm glad you mentioned the traffic enforcement, because we see people complaining regularly about traffic enforcement and trying to get to work. But this took place, the one on Friday morning, during those hours. And just think, if there was traffic enforcement going on at that time, right, it would have been something that would have helped either stop this or catch the perpetrators immediately after, depending on where the police were. So I think that is a key comment that shouldn't be overlooked as we're having this conversation.
Yeah. And I was just going to, again, come on the back end of what you just said. In addition to that, do we have police officers that are out engaging with the community, forming relationships with these different groups, with gang members, with children, so that trust can be built in addition to the community, so they can help to reduce the violence that we see?
No, absolutely. So we've got the CAT team, that are out in the community. But more importantly, I just think because Bermuda and how we are as a country, community is very important. It's a small knit community. There's only degrees of separation between individuals. So we're out there routinely engaging in some of these areas. We've got a gang targeting unit that kind of really does run the gamut from engage, build relationships. I'm aware of one particular situation where members of the gang targeting unit were trying to assist gang involved individuals with getting their driver's licenses, so that they don't continually get caught for driving with no driver's license. And all of that is about building relationships so that we can build trust and people are more confident in sharing information with us.
Okay. And in regards to that sharing information, what can we as a people do as a community to assist with that information?
Well, I just think it really is about sharing what you know. You have no idea how sometimes the smallest little bit of information can be one of the keys that helps to progress an investigation, or if you know things before they're about to happen. So you're aware of some tension, you're aware of maybe like planned reprisals or things like that. Sharing that information would be absolutely great. And again, you've got sort of, 211 or the Crime Stoppers line, 800-8477-TIPS, if that's, where you want to go. But again, I always really want to stress that people know individual police officers. There's somebody that they call by name. There's a police officer that goes to a church, plays on a sporting team, is involved in generally in sporting activities. So they're known, we're in the community. We have the opportunity to build relationships. We are building relationships. So I think it's about taking advantage of those opportunities also.
Sean Smith's asking a question. And folks, if you have any questions for Acting Commissioner Simons, please, I'll get through as many as possible. Does the police have any data that shows that neighborhood watch groups have better success rate in reducing crime in the area over neighborhood that doesn't have watch groups?
I can't answer that question definitively in terms of the data. There may be some comparative data out there, that we have, but I don't know that to the top of my head. But what I can say about the neighborhood watch is it creates engagement in a particular area. It creates a sense of empowerment in a particular area and a sense of purpose. So you've got area residents that are engaged around a particular problem, and very often what you find is that neighborhood watches form after there was an event in the neighborhood. That's the catalyst that brings people together. And that engagement, empowerment is what helps to reduce crime in the area, increase confidence in the police, and increase confidence within the neighbors and neighborhood themselves.
Okay. Would you say it's time that we recognize the violence in Bermuda as a public health problem?
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. In fact, I very often compare, looking at this problem as a public health kind of issue, and where the things that we need to do as a community to help address it, to solve it, right? So if you imagine, let's say, that gang violence, like a heart attack. So when there's a shooting incident, you think of that as a heart attack. Well, if all your energy is placed in the hospital and improving medical care in the hospital, and you do nothing around the lifestyle choices that contribute to heart disease, for example, you're going to be in a constant merry-go-round. And when people only look to the police to solve violence in our community, that's a very similar kind of thing, looking to the hospital just to solve the issue of heart disease. And I think very much a public health perspective is going to lead to some of the more uproot causes of violence in our community. And again, I say it all the time, violence is a social illness. It is a crime, but it is a social illness. And the roots are in ills within the community, and the only longer term solutions that we're going to find are within the community. If you just go back to 2009, we've probably incarcerated in the region of, I don't have an exact number, but it's got to be nigh on 50 individuals for significant offenses. There's been probably about 75-ish deaths, murders in that period, and a number of individuals that have left the jurisdiction, and yet we still find ourselves in the same situation. Right? We just really need to look more upstream at how we find ourselves in this circumstance and make some of the changes that need to occur.
I was reading your colleague, Gary Moreno, had a Facebook post, and basically, quote, "The more that people refuse to say what they know, the faster these gang boys dictate how we live in this country," end quote. That's from a former gang member with whom he was having a discussion with. Do you subscribe to that notion?
The notion that that if people don't say something, it's going to continue. Well, I think if you look at the suppression, catch, convicting space, right? If you're narrowly focused on that, then absolutely. And certainly as a police officer, I want information to solve crimes. I want information to prevent crimes. But really, the real conversation that absolutely needs to take place is this more upstream look. And what are we going to do about changing the circumstances that leads to Bermuda growing gang members? Mm-hmm. What can we do to change that? And if we don't have that conversation and we remain narrowly focused on the criminal aspects of the gang violence situation, that even though the police are able to suppress, catch, and convict a large number of individuals, you've got this constant factory that's going to bring the next generation on and on and on. And what happens, what's the insidious part of this is that as there are more of these kinds of incidents in the community, you have more and more and more unaddressed trauma. And that unaddressed trauma and adverse childhood experiences will lead to more and more and more of these kinds of incidents. And that's the message that needs to be to land in the community. And what can I, as an individual member, what the community as a large, what can we do to help address that?
It's weird to me, because we have mirrors, we have big brothers, big sisters, we have football and cricket programs, so many youth programs, so many mentors. There are more programs out there than gangs, right? And when you speak about the benefits of these programs, there seems to be more benefits. But here's my thing, and for some reason it always comes up. One of my issues when fighting to end conscription in Bermuda was, you don't train a dog, you train a puppy. And the argument was, if it's really about discipline, why are you waiting until these young men are 18 to try to get them? Are we getting something wrong with are we not catching them early enough? And Sherry, you're a social worker, so you probably have the answer to this as much as Mr. Simons.
Because we think it's cute when it's younger. We want to dress up our kids and make them look, a lot older and mature. We want to feed their minds, a lot of things that they cannot handle. Our children are being, swamped with media, with information that is beyond their years. And then you tend to want to live up to it. And if you don't have the guidelines within your household to filter that out, then we have a problem. If you on top of that have the generational trauma, the adverse trauma, the all the other traumas on top of it, it just manifests it to be a whole lot more. And then we have a gang person.
Yeah. Anything to add? We've had a lot of comments coming through and questions, so let me go through some of the. No, it's not on you, Sherry. Literally, while you were talking, they all started coming through. Darrin Simons asking, "What does grooming of the next stream of gang members look like? How can someone recognize that this is happening?"
Oof. Okay. I mean, so. Okay, again, one of the strengths of our community is that people are generally known. So, whilst the police, we don't sort of name and shame gang members in the community, many people in the community know who they are, know where they hang out, et cetera, et cetera. So when young children are in the company of these gang-involved individuals, that's a warning sign. Who are your kids hanging out with? Are they coming home with brand new sneakers or a cell phone that you haven't necessarily provided them? And you've got perhaps gang members that are, we may use the word recruiting, but they're becoming friendly. They're making the gangsta lifestyle seem far more attractive, grooming far more attractive to that young person than staying on the straight and narrow, so to speak. So those are some of the things you need to pay attention to. In the schools, are children going towards people or classmates that are already identified as being having allegiances towards one particular gang or another? Those are some of the things that people can look out for.
Indeed. We have kind of same question. I'll ask Manuela John, saying the police may have that may say that the information will be confidential, but the trust may not be there. Is there some way to submit anonymous information? The police may not be the problem of who knows something. Well, let me just go to the next one as well, because Jawan Haywood's saying, how does information submitted confidentially to the police or Crime Stoppers hold up in court without a subsequent court appearance by that witness? If you can take one.
Right. So okay. So First of all, we've got some fairly robust systems in the police to protect people who give us information. So there's only a small group of individuals that would know. Like, you've got a piece of information and you've got the individual who gave it, right? So the identity of the person who gave it is very much protected in the organization. Now, to the point of how does anonymous information play its way out in court? The reality is anonymous information doesn't play out in court. But what it does is provide investigative leads. So somebody might, give us a bit of information that they know. We follow that up, and then we generate evidence as a result of that tip, if you'd like. But in the courts, it does require somebody to stand up and give evidence, to somebody to stand up and say, I saw this. And whilst we're on that notion, I am extremely thankful to those courageous individuals that do come forward, because not only is it about, let's say, fear of retaliation, it's just about standing up in front of a court and saying, I saw this. And that takes courage. And thank you very much for those individuals that routinely do that.
And let me just piggyback on that and understand that doctors, lawyers, teachers are mandated reporters. So if you see something it falls in that mandate, you must report it. That is your duty, and that is your job, to report incidents of risk, child abuse, or neglect, and it falls under neglect. So we need to follow through with that as well.
I've got a question from the audience. Rosalind Fame is asking, do you have any examples of a successful way of addressing the trauma?
Interestingly, okay, so what we know, what the research says, is that the concern and attention of a single adult in the life of a child. So in other words, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a parent. It can be a grandparent, a community member, but one significant adult in the life of a child can dramatically change the trajectory of that child. And it doesn't matter necessarily what they do. They might get involved around sports in terms of a coach, could be a pastor in terms of youth group, it could be a teacher who's at school that really just demonstrates to this child that you're worthy, I care for you, I'm interested in you as an individual. That's some of the things that can bring about success. I spoke Friday to a mother of an individual who appeared before courts for some various serious crimes. She posted on Facebook, I believe, that her son overseas had become a personal trainer. And here's an individual that was definitely criminally involved, gang involved, moved overseas, started to get an education, and started to really make a difference. Now, definitely moving overseas and going on the education path were important things, but I'm fairly confident that wouldn't have happened without a mom that really cared for him, really made the investment, and probably not just that mom, but broader elements of the community. So that's one individual that just very recently had a conversation with about he was gang involved and is now really make a difference and on a right path to being a positive contributing member of the community. And there are many other stories like that. But to your point earlier about young versus old, if we start late, the cost of intervention is huge. It's significant, right? And all the moving parts that need to occur when a person is already gang involved is just huge. It's very financially resource intensive. If we start younger and we divert, we create a caring environment, that cost is much less. Again, back to the public health. The sheer cost of dealing with somebody who's had a heart attack and all the post operative care or otherwise that might be involved in is very large. The cost of going out jogging every morning, watching what you eat, having those healthy messages sent is pittance in comparison to us. So there are some real examples of successes, but they're hard-won battles, I think, once an individual has become gang involved. And I was just going to say, one of the other things is, we're a small, close-knit community that works very much to our advantage, or we've got some real opportunities. One of the challenges is when you're dealing with gang-involved individuals, the ability to get them out of that lifestyle and on a good path in Bermuda is significantly constrained. It just really is, just because of the environment is so close. And really, you almost pretty consistently, once an individual is gang involved, need to look at something overseas for them. So the message there is get in earlier, get in much earlier.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've been preaching that for years in terms of, again, and I don't like comparing humans, especially mainly black males, to dogs, but the example, it's true. I mean, I remember someone saying, I would always wonder about accents when people move to certain places at 13 versus 25, they're more likely to, their accent's more likely to change at a younger age than a few years later. So simple things like that. I know it might be a crazy analogy to you all, but it's true. The earlier you catch people before they're developed, the easier it is. One last question before you head out. Kendrick Zool's asking, why is the police mobile vehicle not placed in areas to lend assistance to presence in areas? It may not stop crime, but can be a deterrent.
I'm assuming they mean the big Winnebago bust, because obviously police vehicles are in areas where these crimes occur, where firearms occur. We've got a history of that. We've got the armed response vehicles that, for example, are routinely in and around those particular areas. But the caravan, if you'd like, is kind of beyond its useful life, so it doesn't move around too much anymore. But we are in the neighborhoods in the form of the CAT officers, in the form of just routine uniform response patrols, the ARVs, the armed response vehicles, and the gang targeting unit are very much in those neighborhoods and patrolling them. And just very recently, we're putting some significant energy in the Deepdale area. And also you would see on our social media page recently, just in terms of building trust and confidence, we're really trying to make an effort to tell our story. One of the things we've really recognized is that we probably haven't done as good a job as we need to in terms of sharing with the community what we're doing on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis, in terms of particularly around reducing road harm and reducing gun and gang violence. So we're trying to do these drip feeds and little photographs saying, here, we're here, traffic enforcement. I mean, nobody's going to say in the community now, because we're telling them what we've done, what we're doing, and we've been doing it all along, but nobody is going to say the police are not enforcing traffic laws. And we need to get that same narrative out there in terms of what we're doing around gang violence and stuff like that. It's a little trickier. It's not as easy as dealing with speeders, pictures of where we're at, numbers of speed, et cetera, because you've got some privacy issues. You've just got a whole picture there that is both sort of positive and negative, but we're very alive to the fact that we need to tell our story. We need to reassure the community that we actually are out there doing it day in and day out.
Acting Commissioner of Bermuda Police Service, Darrin Simons, thank you so much for coming on such short notice to have this conversation. Engage with us, and please know, again, our platform is a friend of the community, so should you need anything, get anything out, just give us a shout and we'll be happy to assist where we can. So thank you so much, and
thank you.
That's going forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Just in closing, if you see something, say something. 211-800-8477-TIPS, or a police officer, reach out and say something to them. Thank you very much. Be safe, Bermuda. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a great one. All right, folks, if you appreciated the information in that conversation, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Thanks so much to all those who were tuned in on the radio station, bcgradio.com as well. A lot of you over there this morning. If you don't know already, you're unable to watch, you can download the BCG Radio app and listen to the show on a daily basis. Make sure you subscribe to our website to make sure you don't miss conversations like this, thedailyhour.com as well. And also subscribe to YouTube. You just never know when that will be the only space where you can tune into the show. We're going to take a quick break, come back and wrap it up. Don't go anywhere.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
All right, let's do the Daily Play, then we'll wrap it up. Time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0, great taste, no alcohol. Thanks again to One Communications, Medical Halls, People's Pharmacy, Lindos, and thanks again to the Acting Commissioner of Bermuda Police Service, Darrin Simons. Again, if you enjoyed that conversation, found it helpful, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Hey, Heineken 0.0, great taste, no alcohol. Bringing you this, Sherry, are you ready?
Let's have it.
It's a Who Said It. Help her out, folks. Quote, "The truth is everyone is going to hurt you. You just got to find the ones worth suffering for." End quote.
Bob Marley.
Woohoo! Oops. Oops, not that one. Oops, not the one. You got it.
I can't stand you.
Bob Marley. Bob Marley it was. Quick wrap up. What are your thoughts on today's show?
As we said before, we're tired of having these conversations, so let's have these conversations in our community on what it is that we can do best. If you have seen anything, say something, tell the police, tell somebody, so we can reduce this violence from happening.
Look, I'll say this much. I love this audience. When I say I love this audience, like, I believe that we have one of the most esteemed groups of people who tune into this show. I know we all have our own lives and our things that we have to do. But if you can do something in your community, mentor someone, help a child that you may see straying, trust me, it may make a world of difference. All right.
Mm-hmm.
As stated earlier, David Michael R. Wilson, a winner will be announced later this week. But for this month's prize, make sure you go to our website to find out how you can be eligible to win this month's only $500 prize. Just go to our website, follow the instructions. It's very easy, very simple. Some people have already done it, but later this week we'll be announcing on Friday, I believe, the winner of January's prize. All right. Thank you so much for downloading the BCG Radio app. Every Monday, it's Reggae Monday. We're talking the sweet sounds of Barris Hammond, Bob Marley, all of them. So you don't want to miss that. Sherry, you got some daily inspiration before we go and get skanking?
I do. You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. And that's Shirley Chisholm. I think I said that.
Yeah, I love that one. I love that one. Well, on that note, thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, make it a great and safe day. I think I said that, but you get it. Cheers. Peace.